Hello, Master Gitu Yuwat. It's Friday, March 10th. This is Africa 54. Fighting in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo continues to push citizens into camps for internally displaced people. A ruling by Kenya's Supreme Court is being hailed for taking a major step forward in gay rights, but homosexual relations are still illegal in the East African nation. And a Tanzanian woman juggles 2 professional careers. She is a doctor and popular bongo flavor singer known as Phetty. Heather Maxwell speaks with her in our entertainment report. All that and much more coming up on today's Africa 54. We'll have those stories in a moment, but first we begin in the Democratic Republic of Congo, where fighting erupted Friday between M23 militiamen and government troops near the eastern city of Goma. Officials say the clashes unfolded near the village of Murambi, less than 30 kilometers west of Goma. Congo's military says a militia linked to the Islamic State group killed at least 36 people in an attack on Thursday. VOA's Paul Ndiho has more.
A militia linked to the Islamic State group killed at least 36 people in the Democratic Republic of Congo in an attack in the eastern part of the country, the military said on Thursday.
As you see, in Mukondi, it is always the same ADF, which is always ill-intentioned against the Congolese. So they showed up here and did what they did last night at 8 p.m. in the village of Mukondi. We lost many of our brothers.
According to survivors, the Allied Democratic Forces, ADF, attacked civilians in the village of Mukundi in North Kivu province, 25 kilometers southwest of the provincial capital, Beni, in an attack that began late Wednesday.
Here, 3 or 4 days do not go by without us recording deaths, the result of barbarity. The ADF terrorists. That is why, once again, we need a considerable-sized military force to come that can contribute to the restoration of peace.
Officials of Beni toured the village Thursday afternoon as villagers buried the dead in a mass grave.
It was yesterday evening around 7 p.m. I heard noises and the children started to flee suddenly. The rebels were attacking towards our health center. There was shouting. The children started shouting that the ADF rebels are here.
More than 120 groups have been fighting for decades in eastern Congo for power, influence, and mineral resources, and some to protect their communities. The United Nations and human rights groups have accused ADF rebels of targeting, maiming, raping, and abducting civilians, including children. The United States offered a reward of up to $5 million earlier this month for information that could lead to the capture of the group's leader, Sika Musa Baluku. Paul Ndiho, VOA News, Washington.
It has been almost 2 years since a volcanic eruption in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo forced the evacuation and displacement of nearly 500,000 people into camps for internally displaced, and thousands are still living in those camps. Renewed fighting between Congo's military and rebels is pushing more people into the camps, stretching aid that was already in short supply. Ruth Esther reports from Munigi, Congo.
Beatrice Baremero's family is one of 20,000 that lost their homes during the 2021 Nyiragongo volcano eruption. They have been living ever since in the Kayembe displacement camp with hundreds of others. Renewed fighting since November between the Congolese military and March 23 movement rebels pushed hundreds more people into camps, stretching resources and security. Baremero's 17-year-old daughter was on her way to cut woods in January when she was attacked and raped.
She is in the hospital. There is nothing to eat. We suffer with this life in the camp. She only eats the food of other sick people. It has been 2 years we are living in this camp, and without any help, we are suffering.
The UN says clashes between the Congolese military and rebels in the past year displaced more than 600,000 people in North Kivu province, many ending up in camps like Kayembe near the city of Goma. Authorities gave some of the volcano-displaced people materials to rebuild their homes on top of the lava. But the 600 families left in Kayembe say they have received nothing.
First, we want something to eat. Secondly, we want to be taken out of here. The others got tiles, but we got nothing. We also want those tiles to go and rebuild our houses.
Nyiragongo Civil Society President Mambo Kawaya says the fighting displaced and the volcano displaced are competing for aid.
We believe the government should provide tiles to the volcano eruption victims. That way, they can leave the sites they are occupying and make way for the displaced until the areas that are occupied by the enemy come under government control.
Congolese authorities in the region did not respond to requests for comments on the volcano-displaced people. Meanwhile, Burundian troops arrived this week in Goma as part of an East African community force that hopes to bring peace to the region. Ruth Omar Esther, for VOA News, Munigi, Democratic Republic of Congo.
Mali's ruling junta is postponing a constitutional referendum but says that a previously agreed timeline to return to civilian rule is still on track, according to a statement issued by government spokesperson Abdoulaye Maiga. The referendum is a milestone on the road to elections promised for February 2024. The junta says it will first install subdivisions of the election management body in all regions of the country and wants the public to be familiar with the constitutional draft before holding the vote. Mali is in the midst of an 11-year-old security crisis triggered by a regional revolt in the north that developed into a full-blown jihadist insurgency. A ruling by Kenya's Supreme Court allowing registration of LGBTQ association is being hailed as a step forward in gay rights. But homosexual relations are illegal in Kenya, and one lawmaker is pushing a bill to increase the maximum punishment for anyone found guilty to life in prison. Juma Majanga reports from Nairobi.
Peter Kaluma is busy in his Nairobi office preparing to file for a review of a recent Supreme Court ruling that allows the registration of LGBTQ associations in Kenya. The parliament member says LGBTQ individuals have no rights in Kenya under the Constitution. He has also introduced a bill increasing the maximum punishment for anyone found guilty of same-sex relations to death.
Currently, under the current law, if homosexuals, the people who engage in homosexuality, do so by consent, the punishment is 7 years. Where one is forced or coerced to engage in homosexuality, the punishment is 14 years. But that has not sufficiently deterred these homosexuals. And so we are increasing penalty. In some cases, it will be life imprisonment. In cases where there is no consent, we are going to institute death penalty. Death penalty, and that is going to be very explicit in this law.
Last month's majority ruling from Kenya's Supreme Court sparked a debate in the country. The hashtag Say No to LGBTQ in Kenya trended for days following the ruling, with criticism led by President William Ruto.
Katika taifa letu la Kenya, tuko na mila, tuko na desturi.
In our country, Kenya, we have culture and norms, and we respect our constitution. We respect the different religions in our country. We cannot go the road of women marrying fellow women and men marrying fellow men. That can never happen in our country, Kenya.
Religious leaders blame what they call unchecked freedoms in the constitution for the ruling by the country's top court.
It's one of those areas on freedom of association without limits that the Supreme Court used to issue an order to the organ, the body that is registering NGOs to register gay movement, that they have a right to association.
The LGBTQ community in Kenya and rights advocates have hailed the High Court's ruling as a step forward in gay rights.
The ruling will empower us and give us fair spaces. It will allow those who have been hiding in fear to come out and to register as a rainbow community. Being recognized is important because our members have faced attacks and some even killed.
In Kenya, First Lady Rachel Ruto has volunteered to lead national prayers against homosexuality in the country. Meanwhile, many Western countries have legalized same-sex relations in recent decades. And just last month, the Church of England allowed a blessing ceremony for same-sex couples.
Tolerance in sections of the world does not make it right. It simply says that that community or the group that are making it acceptable are a group who have followed the culture rather than who are setting a trend for the culture to follow.
While the Kenyan constitution guarantees a right to freedom of association, same-sex relations remain illegal in the country. Juma Majanga for VOA News, Nairobi.
Kenya in February announced a nighttime curfew in 6 counties and an amnesty for handing over illegal guns after a series of violent attacks from cattle rustlers and bandits in the northern Rift Valley. But just a few guns were turned in as herders say they need to protect themselves in remote areas that have little security. David Lemuria has more from Lodwar, Kenya in this report narrated by Roderick James.
Herders and traders throng to the livestock market in Kenya's northwestern town of Lodwar to buy what few sheep and goats are on sale. It's a rush to replenish stock killed by record drought and worsening theft of animals. Herder Peter Erot says in February, armed bandits stole from him more than 50 cattle and nearly 200 goats.
They're thieves with guns who steal our livestock day and night. Even yesterday, one tried to steal my goat. We caught him, but the police took him away.
Kenya in February announced a security crackdown after a spike in cattle rustling and bandit attacks that in the last 6 months have killed more than 100 civilians and 14 police in the northern Rift Valley region. The government deployed troops and authorities announced a 30-day nighttime curfew.
We have had bandits attack public service vehicles, but we have put the strategies in place to ensure that disruption today and every other day are interrupted.
Officials also declared an amnesty so people could hand in illegal weapons, but say just a handful were turned over. Herders say they need guns to protect themselves from attacks that frequently occur. The Lodwar Referral Hospital is full of gun-related injuries. Herder Nikamoy Kereng says rustlers shot him in the shoulder.
Throughout my life, this is how things have happened here. Every day, a person is killed and livestock is stolen. Every time there is a raid, we must stop them or pursue them with guns. That's the only way things work here.
The cattle raids have been spilling over the borders into Uganda and South Sudan, raising concerns that if not quashed soon, the problem will only get bigger. For David Lemuria in Lodwar, Kenya, Roderick James, VOA News.
We're excited to hear what you think about Africa 54 and all our VOA Africa programs on our website at voaafrica.com. Still to come, in our entertainment report, Heather Maxwell introduces us to the multi-talented Tanzanian artist Phetty. Stay with us.
Ending Ending a marriage is hard for many couples, but when it happens, it impacts women more. Across Africa, where many women depend on their husbands for access to property, social and economic rights, divorce can have devastating impact on their lives. On this week's episode of Our Voices, we will look at the impacts of marital dissolution on women's well-being in Africa, explore discriminatory divorce laws against women, and ask experts how women can better protect themselves if they get divorced. Join the conversation each week right here on Our Voices.
In other news, South African health authorities say a nationwide strike by doctors and nurses that started Monday after practitioners demanded a 10% wage increase is profusely impacting major hospitals and in some circumstances led to the death of patients. Health Minister Joe Paala is calling on police to intervene. Botswana's President Mokwesi Masisi says his country will not drop its demand to sell a bigger share of the diamonds produced by its joint venture with De Beers. 3/4 of Botswana's production, which was 24 million carats in 2022, is sold to De Beers. The balance is sold to the state-owned Okavango Diamond Company. And Ivory Coast has signed an agreement with the United Arab Emirates renewable energy company Masdar to explore the development of a 50 to 70 megawatt solar power plant. The West African nation is committed to reducing its greenhouse gas emissions by 32% and increase the share of renewable energy in its energy mix to over 40% by 2030. The Ivory Coast Stade Malien basketball team is representing Basket Malien at the 2023 Basketball African League that tips off Saturday in Senegal. The team is striving to become one of Africa's best. VOA's Alain Amonchi reports and Jackson Vunganyi narrates.
Stade Malien badly wants to win. The Malian champion is preparing in Abidjan for the Basketball Africa League season that begins in Dakar on Saturday. The objective is to be part of the Final Four that will go to Kigali for the finals.
Because for some time we have adopted this dynamic, namely to win. So we are going to Dakar with this state of mind to win and win our ticket to continue at the level of Kigali in Rwanda.
These exhibition games in Abidjan, a few days before the BAL starts its season in Dakar, allows the Nigerian team of Kwara Falcon and Stade Malien to gauge their squad. Kaba Kante talks about the competition.
It's very good teams, especially our Jatigui, which is ABC. It is one of the best teams in Africa. If we manage to face them before the time's indicated, I think it will be a very good thing for us. And the fact of playing against Kwara, the Nigerian team, which is in the same pool as us, is also fabulous. The most important thing for us is to play in Senegal.
The Malian captain wants to advance in this competition. His team is comprised of local players. They will start the Basketball Africa League against Union Sportive Monastir of Tunisia. Captain Mankan Keita is confident in his team's ability.
The opponent does not count for us. And our strong point, I would say, is the local players, because we have been together for a long time. We work together. We know where they come from. We know where we have to play. We know each other, the players. That's our strong point.
The Stade Malien does not just want to participate in the BAL. It wants to win the league and have the name of Mali inscribed on the trophy.
With the creation of the BAL at the level of the management team, we have put in place this strategy so that the team can return from first at the continental level. That is to say, with the BAL now. Now it's not about coming to the BAL to participate once. It's about perpetuating, it's about staying there, and why not one day win the title at continental level.
Created in 2020 by FIBA in partnership with the NBA, the Basketball Africa League competition brings together champion clubs of Africa. The BAL ends in Kigali, Rwanda, and runs through May.
All eyes will be on Hollywood Sunday when the Academy Awards or Oscars will honor the best in filmmaking. Michael Sullivan has more in this preview.
They have rolled out the red carpet as actors, directors, and others get ready to compete for the Oscars. It's the highlight of the year for the movie industry and for leading nominees, including actor Michelle Yeoh. And the frenzied fantasy, Everything Everywhere All at Once. 3 other cast members are also up for acting awards for the film that received major honors at this year's Screen Actors Guild Awards. Cate Blanchett is also a front-runner for Best Leading Actress for her role as a classical conductor in the drama Tar. Both films are among the 10 Oscar nominees for Best Picture. So was Elvis, a retelling of the story of pop icon Elvis Presley, with star Austin Butler competing for Best Actor. Bernard Hiller, an acting coach who has interviewed winners for his acting class, says Hollywood takes the Oscars seriously.
It's very important for the film and can be very important for the actor himself because it's an acknowledgement from the industry that you have something unique.
Brendan Fraser in The Whale is another top contender for Best Leading Actor in a tale of a morbidly obese man and his troubled relationship with his daughter. The Banshees of Inisherin, about tensions in a friendship in an Irish village, earned nominations for lead actor Colin Farrell and supporting actors Brendan Gleeson and Barry Keoghan, as well as supporting actress Kerry Condon. Condon's competitors include Angela Bassett for her supporting role in the Marvel action film Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. Nominees for Best Picture also include The Fabelmans, loosely based on the early life of director Steven Spielberg, and the German film All Quiet on the Western Front, based on a classic 1929 anti-war novel. It is nominated for Best Picture and is also a favorite for Best International Film. Comparing movies and performances is difficult, says acting coach Hiller.
Because some people have dramatic Oscar-winning scenes and some people don't. So it's kind of comparing an apple and an orange and a pear and like which one's best. So it's fun. Don't take it too seriously.
Some real-life dramas are on display in documentary nominees, including Navalny, a film about the plot to kill Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny. Despite some serious themes, the Oscars are intended as a time of celebration, when fans cheer their favorite movies and the people who make them. Mike O'Sullivan, VOA News, Los Angeles.
It's time for Entertainment Report, and joining us now is Heather Maxwell, host of VOA's Music Time in Africa radio program. Hello, Heather.
Hi, Esther. Professional singer, medical doctor, both careers that seem polar opposites are also extremely demanding on one's time, energy, and talents. So how does one person do both? Earlier this week, I caught up with one woman in this virtual conversation who can tell you how. Meet Phetty, or Dr. Fatma Msafiri. Dr. Fatma Saeed Msafiri, thank you for being on the program.
I'm honored. Thank you so much for having me.
You are a musician by passion, you say, and a medical doctor by profession. Can you explain that?
I decided to pursue my profession first, but then I couldn't stop my hobby because I love singing a lot. So I just kind of had to do both of them.
How do you have the time, though? Normally, medical doctors are known for working
late
Endless.
hours.
Yes. How do you have the time?
I started doing my music after my work. It's just the way you balance your time, you know.
All right, so tell me about your songs. I have watched Asali and Kiranga. I kind of expected that your songs would be serious, and I don't know why, because you're a medical doctor, but they don't seem to be. They seem to be kind of your typical pop, light.
Okay, so as a musician, I just had to blend in, you know. I cannot come out here. People like to be entertained. There is a lot of work, there's a lot of stress. So I've just discovered that people like to be entertained. So when I came into the entertaining game, I had to blend it, and I had to sing things that people like people love a lot of love. People like a lot of expressions and the memories and all that. So I had to blend in and let people get what they want from me.
And how will you combine medical issues and practices there? How will you combine that with music if you decide to?
I decided to start a foundation that's called Fistula and Health Foundation. And I just discovered that using music, I can start with fundraising through music and get to help people to get the money to be able to attend different treatments.
Well, it sounds to me like medicine is also your passion too. I wonder if one day you could write a hit song about this problem in some way.
In days to come, everyone will be singing fistula, fistula, please stop discriminating women, please. This fistula is treatable, and I think everyone will know what fistula is.
It'll be a #1 hit.
Yes, it will be my #1 hit.
All right, so shall people call you Dr. Fatma or Dr. Msafiri or Phetty, which is your stage name? Which do you prefer?
In the hospital, when I'm working, I prefer Dr. Msafiri. But when I'm on stage, it's even difficult to call me Dr. Msafiri because I literally don't look like a doctor when I'm on stage.
Oh, na, na, na. And what does Phetty mean?
Phetty is a short form of Fatma.
Dr. Msafiri with the swag. It has been a pleasure talking to you, and best of luck.
Thank you so much for having me.
And that's it for this week's entertainment. Esther, back to you.
Thank you, Heather. Bring the doctor here in the studio with a stethoscope. Be sure to join Heather Maxwell's Entertainment Report every Friday here on Africa 54. And that's our show for today. Be sure to watch Africa 54 on our website at voaafrica.com. From all of us here in Washington, have a great weekend.